Friday, February 5th, 2021, Maneko 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So the week has gone by really quickly. I think this whole year has gone by quickly. And it's difficult to know the day of the week when you're under total lockdown almost here in the UK. Today we're going to look at the Zoom Accord. What's the Zoom Accord? Well, back in 1985, there was something called the Plaza Accord. And that's where the G7 finance ministers and central bankers met at the Plaza Hotel in New York. And they decided to devalue the dollar. It was a big thing. It's very historic. And the other day, I saw this story on Reuters. And the reason I see stuff on Reuters is that my brokerage account has like a source on the right-hand side of the screen, for example, where we see stories popping up. And I saw that. And it said, exclusive, UK to lead G7 discussion on COVID economic recovery on February 12th. So that's going to be next Friday. And I thought to myself, they're going to try their great reset. And they're going to do it also on Zoom, or it's going to be a virtual meeting. I'm not sure they will use Zoom, but it's kind of like Zoom, right? And what are they going to try to do? Are they going to try to devalue the dollar? Am I saying they're going to devalue the dollar? No. But in 1985, something big happened, and it was the devaluation of the dollar. So let's quickly go through the Plaza Accord. It says the Plaza Accord was a joint agreement signed on 22nd September 1985 at the Plaza Hotel in New York City between France, West Germany. Germany hadn't reunified back then yet, so it was West Germany, Japan, United States, United Kingdom, to depreciate the US dollar in relation to the Japanese yen and German Deutschmark. By intervening in currency markets, the US dollar depreciated significantly from the time of the agreement until it was replaced by the Louvre Accord in 1987. Its main aim was to provide an increased competitiveness of American and European exports in relation to Japanese exports by forcing through currency control. So yeah, there you go. And they're the finance ministers there of the various countries. I think at the time it might have been a G5, not a G7. So let's go through what they're going to do or what they're planning to talk about. Of course, it's not going to be a public thing that everyone can join on Zoom and see what they're talking about. It's all behind the scenes, of course. So it says Britain will chair. Yes, it's not going to be in London, but they have the kind of lead here in the G7 at the moment. They're presiding the meeting. It says, will chair a meeting of finance chiefs from the group of 7 rich, I would say more indebted nations on February 12th to try to map a way out of the global economic crisis inflicted by, well, they're blaming, you know what, I'm not going to say it. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, the mention of that C word. And to find a solution to an international tax wrangle too. So what would I do if I were these guys and I was trying to get the economies around the world going again? Well, I would try to intervene as little as possible. I would try to stop borrowing as much as possible and let the free market take over. Of course, they're not going to do that. As I said, I don't know what repercussions that this will have on currencies or commodities or the stock market, but it's very possible it will, because back in 1985, as you can see here, look at what the dollar did after the Plaza meeting or accord. So it says, Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey will co-host an online meeting of their peers from the United States, Japan, Germany, France, Italy, and Canada, as well as the European Central Bank, Britain's finance ministry said. Interesting that a lot of these meetings used to be between the United States, Japan, and then the EU, and then Canada, but I don't see the EU here. So it's just Germany, France, and Italy. It's like in the good old days. Is the EU losing a lot of power? Maybe. I guess the European Central Bank talks for the EU, but anyway, this is a comment from the ministry. It says, recognizing that a global crisis needs global solutions. Yeah, well, you engineer the crisis, you create a problem, and then you find a solution. Problem, reaction, solution. The Chancellor will work with his counterparts to address the shared economic challenges facing our domestic and global economies and seek to achieve a strong and sustainable economic recovery from coronavirus. The administration of new U.S. President Joe Biden has said it will work with other countries to secure an economic recovery and tackle difficult climate and international tax issues. So I don't think this would have happened, this kind of statement, if we had the other guy had been inaugurated, right? A change in tone from former President Donald Trump, it says. Britain is chairing the G7 this year at a time when the global economy is still reeling from the impact of lockdowns, prompting governments to spend trillions of dollars to stave off the worst of the damage. Well, those trillions of dollars are mostly going into the big corporations, the big tech companies, the big banks. They're not really going that much into the pockets of the people. It says vaccination programs are now underway, raising the prospect of a recovery later this year. Still that idea that just because people have had a vaccine, that the economy will recover. Anyway, but the different pace of the rollouts is likely to mean some regions lag behind, with the Eurozone at particular risk of a slow recovery. Climate change and biodiversity loss would be made a central priority ahead of the COP26, whatever that is, conference to be hosted by Britain in November, the British Finance Ministry said. This is in addition to working closely to reach a global solution on tax challenges created by digitalization on the economy and supporting the global sustainable financing of COVID-19 vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics, it said. Nearly 140 countries are negotiating the first update in a generation to rules for taxing cross-border commerce, reflecting the dominance of big digital companies like Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is due to host the first in-person summit of G7 leaders in nearly 2 years in June in a seaside village in Cornwall, Western England, to discuss rebuilding from the pandemic and climate change. I really don't know why they're focusing so much. Well, I do. I know why they're focusing so much on climate change, even though it's supposed to be a pandemic. Well, it's because climate change is a problem that is global, so it needs a global solution. And these people like centralization from the center. And I'm not arguing that the climate doesn't change, but it's been changing since the Earth has been here. It's something natural. My question about this whole agenda is whether it's really man-made, and I'm not saying that human beings don't need to treat the planet and the environment with consideration. So there you go. I call it the Zoom Accord because it's going to be like a virtual meeting. And as I've said, I have no idea what consequence their accord, this Zoom accord will have on currencies or on financial markets or on the economy, but it could be important. So next Friday, it's interesting that it's going to be next Friday. It will probably come out. I don't know when the statement will come out. Probably come out during market hours because it's going to be in London. It's not going to come out late at night in the UK, or maybe it will. Who knows? So I think we need to keep an eye on this. With that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's 8:30 a.m. London time. So yesterday was an interesting day. Watch my live stream. I did a live stream with Rafi Farber last night. So watch that if you want to know what we think about gold and silver. I'm not going to go through it here. But right now anyway, spot gold is up $16 at 1810. So yesterday, yeah, we broke below 1800, but we've come right back up. We'll have to see what happens. So it's up just under 1%, right near the highs. High's been 1811.72, low has been 1791.73. Spot silver is up 35 cents or 1.35%. Yes, it's outperforming gold, but yesterday silver, even though it dropped about 2.5% and gold dropped 2%, I thought that was kind of an outperformance because on days like yesterday, silver actually drops a lot more in percentage terms. So yeah, silver I think is holding up quite well at the moment. Yeah, listen to the live stream. We talk about backwardation in silver. So right now we're at 26.69. The high's been 26.76, the low 26.17. Stock market as well is weird because it's making new all-time highs, and you'd think the dollar would be weak, but we've seen a rebound in the dollar recently, which doesn't really, how can I say, correspond to a strong stock market. So keep that in mind. I'd say right now the Dow futures up 54, 31,110. The Nasdaq future is up 48, 13,600. S&P is up 9, 38,800. The fiat currencies or foreign exchange market, the pound is up 0.2% at 137.03. Yesterday, the Bank of England, they published a report, and it said that they're looking into being able to set negative rates within the next 6 months. And they also said that their base rate should stay around 0 or 0.1 for the next 3 years. And despite that, we saw the pound rally, which is a little bit counterintuitive. We're seeing the euro right now at 119.75. That's up 1/8%. The dollar is down slightly versus the yen at 105.42. And the dollar is up 0.1% versus the yuan at 647.80. High grade copper is up over 1% at almost 360. The WTI crude still doing really well, 56.52, up 0.75%. And to finish off, let's look at the bond market and the 10-year yield. 10-year yield is starting to creep up a little bit. We're at 114, 1.14%, unchanged. And I saw yesterday that Mittens Romney, why Mittens? Well, when he ran for president, a lot of people thought that his name was Mittens because it's Mitt Romney. He came out with a proposal to give children in the U.S., each child, like over $3,000 a year. Is that going to have to be paid by more deficits? I've read about it. I've read about the plan, and according to him, there's no extra spending. They're just reshuffling tax breaks and other things like that, tax credits. So I'm not sure if that's going to be really make the deficit or the debt worse. But anyway, I think the tendency is for them to keep increasing spending and to keep printing money. the 1.9 trillion. I'm not sure what's going on there. And I would say that the Zoom Accord is going to be important to that. They're probably all going to say, yeah, let's coordinate our spending and our monetary policy as it's finance ministers and central bankers from these countries that are meeting, right? So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye.